Welcome to the deep dive. Ever meet someone and just think, wow, they seem way older than they are?
Or the opposite, right? Like someone who's just incredibly young at heart.
Exactly. So today we're diving into why that might be. We're exploring this really intriguing idea of mental age versus, well, chronological age.
Yeah, and the difference is key. Chronological age, that's straightforward. It's just the number of years you've lived.
Simple enough.
But mental age, that's more about your level of, let's say, intellectual and emotional functioning.
Yeah.
How you operate, really.
And those two numbers, your age in years and this mental age, they can tell very different stories about a person.
Absolutely. You can think of it maybe like this. Chronological age marks time passing, but your mental age reflects your actual journey through that time.
That's a good way to put it.
And our mission today really is to unpack this whole concept. Where did it even come from? How do we, try to understand it?
And maybe most importantly, what could figuring this out mean for you, for the listener, in your own life?
Right, because it might offer some valuable insights.
Okay, so digging in. This isn't some brand new pop psychology thing, is it? Where did this idea of mental age actually start?
No, not at all new. The groundwork was really laid back in the early 20th century.
Oh, wow. Who was involved?
A pioneering psychologist, Alfred Binet. You might have heard the name.
Vaguely. Sounds familiar. Binet, intelligence testing.
Exactly. He introduced the concept of mental age specifically within the context of intelligence testing. It was primarily a way to identify children who might need extra help, additional support in school.
Okay. So it started out focused purely on kids and their cognitive development, like how smart they were for their age.
Precisely that. Binet was looking for a practical method, really, to assess a child's intellectual capabilities compared to their peers.
But it sounds like it's evolved since then.
Oh, definitely. Over time, the understanding or maybe the application of mental age has broadened out quite a bit. Well, now it's not just about raw cognitive horsepower, it often encompasses different aspects of your personality too, and things like emotional maturity.
Right. Which makes you wonder, how do we even try to get a handle on someone's mental age? It's not like there's a mental age thermometer we can use.
No, definitely not. Wish it were that easy sometimes.
Yes.
Current approaches often involve things like questionnaires, psychological assessments.
What do those look at?
They're usually designed to evaluate different facets of your, let's call it, mental and emotional landscape.
Correct.
So these tools might explore your typical behaviors, your approach to making decisions, how you usually respond emotionally to situations.
And by looking at those patterns.
Exactly.
Yeah.
By looking at those patterns, psychologists, or even you, through self-reflection, can start to form an idea of whether someone's mental age seems to line up with their chronological age, or if there's, a noticeable difference.
Could you maybe paint a picture for us? What might be some, telltale signs? Someone with a younger mental age versus someone maybe older.
Sure. So individuals who maybe lean towards a younger mental age, well, they might often gravitate towards more playful activities.
Like still loving cartoons or video games.
Could be. Or just generally exhibiting a more carefree attitude. They also tend to adapt maybe more readily to new situations sometimes, less set in their ways, perhaps.
Okay, that makes sense. And the other side, someone with an older mental age.
Right. So someone with what we might call an older mental age, they might demonstrate a really strong sense of responsibility, perhaps earlier than their peers.
And taking things seriously.
Yeah. They often prefer routine, maybe predictability. And importantly, they typically show a significant degree of emotional resilience when facing challenges. They bounce back.
And it feels really important to stress again, neither of these is like inherently good or bad, right?
Yeah.
Better or worse.
Absolutely crucial point. It's not about judging. It's simply a reflection of the incredibly diverse ways we all develop and, engage with the world around us.
It really highlights that spectrum of human development we were talking about.
Totally. Let's think about some everyday scenarios. Maybe that helps.
Yeah, examples are good.
Okay, imagine someone who's, say, 30. Their idea of a perfect Saturday involves hours of video games with friends. They tend to prefer really lighthearted social interactions, maybe avoid deep, heavy topics.
Yeah.
And maybe they find long-term financial planning, like saving for retirement, a struggle, a bit overwhelming.
Right. So those behaviors taken together could suggest maybe a younger mental age in certain areas.
Possibly, yeah. It suggests certain tendencies. Now, flip that.
Okay, what's the flip side?
Think about a 20-year-old. Someone who consistently steps up, takes on significant responsibilities, maybe at work or even in their family life.
Ahead of the curve, maybe?
Perhaps. And they handle stressful situations with this remarkable sense of calm. They don't get easily flustered.
Impressive.
And maybe they really enjoy engaging in deep, in-depth conversations about complex ideas, things others their age might not be focused on yet.
So that individual might be showing traits we often associate with an older mental age.
Exactly. They're exhibiting a kind of maturity that seems beyond their chronological years in some ways.
So, okay, we see these differences can exist. How do they actually impact someone's life? Like, what are the real-world consequences or effects?
Oh, these differences can ripple through, well, pretty much all aspects of life. Think about relationships, for starters.
How so?
The way you communicate, the expectations you have of a partner, friend, what you even seek in connections, that can all be heavily influenced by your mental age.
And the mental age of the other person, too, presumably. Mismatches could be tricky.
Absolutely. Communication styles might clash, needs might differ, and then there's career paths.
Right. How does it affect work?
Well, someone with perhaps a younger mental age might really thrive in a dynamic, fast-paced, maybe less structured environment. Think startups, creative fields.
Okay.
Whereas someone with maybe an older mental age might excel in roles that demand stability, consistency, a high degree of responsibility, maybe more traditional corporate structures or healthcare.
That makes sense. Different fits for different operating systems, almost.
Kind of. And fundamentally, it plays a huge role in your personal growth journey. It shapes how you approach challenges, learn from mistakes, your overall outlook on life itself.
This brings up a really interesting point then. What's the actual benefit for someone listening right now to try and understand their own mental age? What's the practical takeaway? Why should they care?
Understanding your own mental age, I think it can be a really powerful catalyst for self-improvement, honestly.
By just knowing the label.
Not just the label, but what it signifies. It can illuminate specific areas where you might want to develop further. It gives you a starting point.
Okay, give me an example. If someone realizes they lean younger mentally,
Right. So if you recognize tendencies often associated with a younger mental age, maybe you struggle with impulse control, or perhaps find it hard to stick to long-term goals, you could consciously focus on cultivating, say, greater emotional resilience.
okay, but how? What's a practical step?
Well, one practical step could be just starting to notice your reactions in stressful moments. Instead of immediately reacting, intentionally pause. Just
Yeah.
breathe. Give yourself that moment to choose a more measured response.
So developing that pause button.
Exactly. Building that muscle. It takes practice.
I like that. What about the other way around? Someone who maybe identifies with having an older mental age than their actual years. What's the growth area there?
Yeah, great question. For someone who recognizes maybe a tendency towards an older mental age, perhaps they're very responsible, maybe a bit too rigid, finds it hard to relax.
The old soul type.
Kind of, yeah. The focus for them might shift towards intentionally incorporating more spontaneity, more playfulness into their life. It sounds simple, but it can be hard.
Like how?
Yeah.
Just go bungee jumping.
Huh. Doesn't have to be that extreme. It could be as simple as consciously scheduling short, unstructured activities each week,
Like what?
trying a new hobby just for fun with no goal, visiting a park without a plan, allowing yourself to just be silly for a bit, maybe with friends or family.
Embracing the non-productive moments.
Precisely. And, studies have actually shown that these moments of lightheartedness, of play, can genuinely reduce burnout and increase overall well-being, especially for people who are naturally very driven and serious.
That's fascinating. Now, a key question here. Is this mental age thing fixed? Like, are you stuck with the mental age you have now, or can it evolve over time? Is it like your height, or more like your fitness level?
That's a really insightful question. And the answer is definitely more like fitness level. Mental age is far from static.
So it can change.
Absolutely. It can and often does change throughout your life's journey. It's dynamic.
What causes those changes?
Lots of things. Significant life events, for one. Major challenges you navigate and, crucially, overcome.
Like overcoming adversity.
Yes. Also, your active engagement in learning, education, personal growth work. All of these can contribute to shifts in your mental age.
Can you give us a couple of quick examples of how these shifts might actually look?
Sure. Consider someone who experiences significant adversity, maybe quite early in life. A tough upbringing, perhaps.
Okay.
Navigating those challenges might actually force them to develop a more mature, more resilient perspective much earlier than their peers. They had to grow up fast, as the saying goes.
Right. Necessity driving maturity.
Exactly. And conversely, think about an individual who perhaps through luck or circumstance, hasn't faced many substantial obstacles or challenges.
A relatively smooth ride.
Yeah, that person might, in some ways, retain a more youthful outlook, maybe even some naivete, even as they accumulate chronological years. Less pressure to mature in certain ways.
So experiences really sculpt it.
Very much so. Life shapes us.
Okay, so we've talked about how to think about it, how it can change. Let's circle back to those benefits again. Beyond just personal growth, what other advantages come with understanding mental age, both in ourselves and maybe in understanding others too?
Well, a really significant advantage is definitely enhanced self-awareness. That's huge.
Knowing yourself better.
Right. When you have a clearer picture of your own mental and emotional functioning, your tendencies, your triggers, your strengths, you're just empowered to make more informed decisions.
Across the board.
Pretty much, yeah. From big career choices to how you handle everyday personal relationships.
And speaking of relationships, you mentioned that earlier. How does understanding mental age help there?
Well, understanding potential mental age differences, yours and theirs, can foster much more effective communication.
How?
It builds greater empathy. If you understand where someone else is coming from, maybe recognizing they operate with a different mental age in certain situations, you can adjust your approach.
Tailoring your style.
Exactly. For instance, if you recognize that maybe a friend or colleague tends towards a younger mental age and how they process feedback, you might adjust your communication style. Perhaps
Yeah.
be more direct, maybe less nuanced, offer more support.
Instead of getting frustrated that they don't get it like you do?
Precisely. It moves from judgment to understanding, hopefully leading to stronger connections.
That makes perfect sense. Any other big benefits?
Yeah, I think another key benefit is potentially increased motivation for personal development.
How does that work?
Well, when you identify specific areas where your current mental age or certain aspects of it might be holding you back, maybe limiting you in achieving your goals, that recognition can provide a really powerful drive. Motivation to take proactive steps towards growth and maturity in those specific areas.
So it lights a fire under you, potentially.
It can. This might involve seeking out new learning opportunities, maybe engaging in therapy to address certain emotional patterns, or consciously adopting new habits that support the level of maturity you aspire to in different parts of your life.
Okay. Now, with any kind of framework like this, ways of categorizing people, there are always potential downsides, right? Pitfalls.
Absolutely.
What are some of the challenges or things we really need to be mindful of when we're thinking about this idea of mental age?
Yeah, this is critical. Probably the most important thing to be constantly aware of is the risk, the danger, really, of using mental age as a label.
Like putting people in boxes.
Exactly. Or worse, using it as a basis for stereotyping. Either yourself, oh, I'm just immature, or others, well, they're too set in their ways.
Right. That can be really limiting and unfair.
Hugely. It's crucial, absolutely crucial, to remember that mental age is just one single thread in the incredibly rich, complex tapestry of a person's identity.
One piece of the puzzle.
A small piece, often. We have to approach this concept with sensitivity, with nuance, and always with a deep appreciation for the complexity of human experience. It's not simple.
Absolutely. It's definitely not the whole story about who someone is.
Not even close. It's vital to always consider the broader context. What are the cultural influences at play? What's their social background? What unique individual experiences have shaped this person? All of that matters profoundly.
So, okay, acknowledging those cautions. If someone listening is curious now, they want to gain a maybe better understanding of their own mental age, where do they even start? What are some concrete steps someone could actually take?
We're at the how-to. That's the big question, isn't it? How do we actually start exploring this within ourselves?
Yeah, where do I begin?
Well, one avenue to explore, if you're inclined, is taking reputable personality assessments. Some are designed to evaluate different aspects that relate to mental and emotional maturity.
Like Myers-Briggs or Big Five or something more specific?
Could be related to those, or others more focused on developmental stages or emotional intelligence. But beyond those more formal tools, honestly, self-reflection is absolutely paramount.
Just thinking about it.
But actively thinking. Taking dedicated time to really ponder your own behaviors. Ask yourself, how do I typically respond when things change unexpectedly? How do I usually manage stress? What's my actual process for making important decisions?
Being honest with yourself.
Yes. And maybe even keeping a journal. Just jotting down thoughts regularly, reflecting on these aspects of your life, it can be incredibly valuable for identifying recurring patterns.
Patterns that might offer clues about your mental age, maybe in different areas.
Exactly. Clues, not definitive answers. Journaling seems like a really practical first step anyone could take.
Okay, journaling. What else might be helpful on this discovery path?
Seeking thoughtful feedback. Talk to people you trust.
Risky.
Maybe a little, but potentially very rewarding. Ask trusted individuals, close friends, family members you have a good relationship with, maybe even mentors for their perspectives.
What kind of perspective?
Ask them honestly how they see you handling stress, making decisions, interacting. Sometimes those around us can see patterns in our behavior, blind spots that we ourselves might not be fully aware of.
That outside view can be powerful.
It really can. Also, just engaging in open, honest conversations about personal growth and mental well-being with these trusted people can lead to deeper self-understanding for everyone involved.
So talking about it helps.
Definitely. And one more thing. Actively setting personal goals. Goals that specifically challenge you to step outside your current comfort zone.
Pushing yourself.
Yeah, pushing yourself to develop new skills or new ways of responding. That can be a powerful catalyst for growth, regardless of where you perceive your starting mental age to be.
It feels like this whole conversation, this understanding of mental age,
Yeah.
it could have broader implications too, right, for how we interact as a society.
Oh, absolutely. I think it does. Our society, generally speaking, often places a huge emphasis on chronological age.
Yeah, milestones, expectations based on birthdays.
Right. And we use it as a primary marker for maturity, capability, what someone should be like.
And the problem with that is,
Well, it can inadvertently lead us to completely overlook the considerable variations in actual mental and emotional development that exist across individuals at the same age.
we lump people together.
Exactly. And that results in potential misunderstandings, unfair biases. For instance, we might sometimes underestimate the maturity or the capacity of younger individuals just based solely on their age.
Dismissing them as too young.
Yes. Or, conversely, we might hold older individuals to certain rigid expectations about their behavior or their adaptability, assuming they must be wise, or maybe assuming they can't learn new things.
Stereotyping based on the number.
Precisely.
Right.
So it's really about moving beyond those potentially harmful assumptions.
Yes. Recognizing that mental age can and does vary widely, and that it doesn't always align neatly with chronological age. That recognition alone can foster a more inclusive, more understanding society.
Oh, so?
It encourages us, hopefully, to value individuals based on their unique strengths, their lived experiences, their actual perspectives, rather than just relying on potentially outdated, generalized notions tied only to how many years they've been alive. Seeing the person, not just the age.
Exactly. And this understanding can also be incredibly valuable in, say, professional environments, in the workplace.
Oh. How does it apply at work?
Well, think about leaders, managers. If they are attuned to the diverse maturity levels, the different ways of processing and problem solving within their teams, they can potentially tailor their management styles, how they give feedback, how they assign tasks, how they foster collaboration.
Matching the approach to the individual's way of operating.
Right. Which can lead to better team dynamics, more effective communication, less friction, and ultimately, you'd hope, greater overall productivity and job satisfaction.
That's a really powerful insight, actually. It shows how this seemingly personal concept can have real-world benefits well beyond just our own navel-gazing.
Definitely. It connects the personal to the interpersonal and even the organizational.
So as we start to wrap up our deep dive today into this fascinating world of mental age,
Yeah.
what's the key message? The main thing you'd really want our listeners to take away from this conversation?
I think the core takeaway for me is the immense value, the real potential in simply recognizing and starting to understand this concept of mental age.
Just being aware of it.
Yes, both for your own journey of personal growth, self-discovery, and also for cultivating a more empathetic, more nuanced view of the people and the world around you.
So it helped you and helps how you see others.
Right. It's fundamentally about looking beyond that simple, single measure of years lived and starting to appreciate the diverse levels of intellectual and emotional maturity that really shape our individual experiences and all our interactions.
Absolutely well said. So as you, the listener, go about your day after hearing this, we really encourage you to take just a moment, reflect on your own mental age. How do you think it influences your perspectives,
Yeah.
your choices,
Yeah.
your relationships?
And as you ponder that, maybe just remember that your mental age, whatever you perceive it to be right now, isn't some fixed point you're stuck at. It's not a final grade.
It's dynamic.
It's dynamic. It's an evolving aspect of who you are, a unique part of your ongoing, lifelong journey of growth and self-discovery. So embrace that journey, keep learning, keep reflecting, and keep growing.